Du coup, bonjour à tout le monde. Merci beaucoup d'être venu ici comme ça en force. On a beaucoup de monde. Et du coup, aujourd'hui, on a le plaisir d'accueillir Gherardo Chirici, qui est prof à l'Université de Florence et qui est quelqu'un dont l'expertise en télédétection et en inventaire forestier. Bon, la renommée due à cette expertise dépasse les frontières italiennes. Du coup, Gherardo a beaucoup travaillé à l'échelle européenne sur la télédéc et l'observation forestière et qui va nous parler aujourd'hui de l'inventaire italien et de l'observation des arbres en ville.
Hello, everybody. Okay. I will speak in English if it's not. I understand French. I speak some French. I have a family that is mixed Italian French, but the English is a little bit more fluent. Okay, why Florence? First of all, just a little bit of history, because our faculty was the only one until the late 70s, let's say, because similar to somehow history of France also, we started teaching forestry before of the university. So you know that Italy was a kind of recent republic created in 1861. So at that time they created this school that was for the forestry corps. Okay, so for the top level forestry corps. So this is a picture from 1861, when it was the King School of Forestry, and then the first year of the university in 1924. Nowadays, we are still considered, you know, the house of the beginning of the forestry sciences in Italy, but we have 15 universities in Italy offering some kind of bachelor or master degree programs, a lot of. So this is our activity is very socially oriented, let's say, because we stay 3 months per year in the forest, more or less living together in this infrastructure that is called the Paradisino, that is located in the didactical forest close to Florence. So we stay a lot, the students stay a lot in the forest. I'm here somehow in the framework also of the International Union of Forest Research Organization. I'm the coordinator of the unit, the subunit related to forest inventory. So, and I am here because I would like to talk about 2 issues. I will try to do it as soon as possible, as fast as possible. But if you have more questions, then we can go in deep. How it is organized, the Italian NFI, this is quite complex. Let's say this is the new infrastructure. In Italy, the law says that the responsible body is the army, because the traditional forest service almost 10 years ago was merged with Carabinieri Forestali, so is one of the police corps that we have in Italy. So it's like if the forest inventory could be merged with the gendarmerie, similar somehow. Because the Carabinieri already has a kind of environmental area for investigating again for activities against nature or again the environment or something like that. Then we have a scientific structure that support, because the field crew, so the teams going in the field are Carabinieri, but all the scientific part is carried out by the CREA. CREA is a research body of the Ministry of Agriculture. They are in charge of the sampling design, the estimators, field manual. They teach to the field crew what to do and so on. I am responsible for the remote sensing component. Yeah. I'm sorry if some of the slides are still in Italian, but we have the forest area in Italy is representing 40% of our of the country. So huge component. Almost, we estimated in the last inventory 12 billions of trees, and they produce 36 million of cubic meters per year. Okay. So the previous forest inventories, we had a very first forest inventory in 1985. So the first forest inventory. I don't talk very much of that because the data are almost not available anymore, at least the plot level data, because they were created in a specific software that was on a specific computer that now is corrupted. So the data are no more available, the raw data. We only have the book, basically, of the inventory. So I can, when we talk about the previous inventories, they are the two inventories, 2005, 2015. So the idea is to have one inventory every 10 years. The sampling scheme is based on a sampling design of 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer with an aligned systematic sampling design. So one random plot for each quadrat of 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. That is the first phase. Sampling. You can see here these are the Forest Service, so the Carabinieri working in the field. Just to show you very briefly the composition. So you cannot read, but these are the categories. So the main tree species. So we have a lot of tree species because we have in Italy we have this very strong gradient related to latitude and a very strong gradient related to altitude. So we go from 0 to 3,000 meters in the Apennine chain, and most of our forests are mountain forests. So this is how it works, the sampling design. So this is the previous NFI was the only one, as far as I know, based on the 3 phases. So this is the first phase, almost 300,000 plots photo-interpreted. Then we extract randomly with a stratified random the second phase where we go in the field for assessing the qualitative data, so the tree species composition, the forest management, the accessibility, so without measuring the trees. This is a 30,000 plots stratum. And then from these, we extract the third phase sample that is approximately 7,000 plots. So here, all the plots is the second phase. The colored plots is the third phase. So that one where we collect the data. So the output of our previous forest inventories is traditional tables with we estimate the estimates for the whole Italy and for the 20 administrative regions. So it's not one level. This is an example for growing stock volume. So you have the estimation and the percentage standard error. Okay. This is the new forest inventory. I will go quite fast. The new forest inventory starting this year is based on a 2-phase. Okay, so instead of the 3 phases, we move to 2 phases. So only photo interpretation for the first phase, and then we go in the field in all forest plots. For this reason, our grid is larger, so that more or less the field plots visited in the field is the same one of the previous sampling design. Okay, so 4 kilometers the square grid, and the plot located randomly. We tried I don't have slides on this because it's quite complicated, but we try to maintain some of the plots of the previous inventory to maintain a kind of bridge between the two, the previous forest inventory and the new one. This inventory is based only on permanent plots. Okay, so we take the tree position of all the trees. So all the plots, all the field plots, all the 7,000 field plots are permanent plots. The big change is that this time is a yearly based forest inventory. So we are completing a cycle in 5 years, and we collect 1/5 of the area, 1/5 of the area each year on the basis of this structure. So Italy is divided in 5 stratum. So this is the cells that we visit in the first year, the second year, third year, fourth year, 5 year, and then we start again the cycle. Okay, so we have the possibility to produce estimations every year, and also to produce the 5-year estimations with all the plots. We are still open on this because there are different techniques on how to use the data coming from this rotation panel that is frequent around the world. So we have done the field, we have completed the field activity this year for the first time. Everything was more or less okay, but we are still elaborating the data to understand. So this is the photo interpretation of the first phase. This is just the location, the number of plots for the different regions. These are the uncertainties coming from simulations based on the previous inventories. We calculated that more or less we will have the same precision of the previous NFI at the end of the 5 years cycle. We still have to understand what we are able to produce every year in terms of precision of the estimates. These are traditional Horvitz-Thompson estimations. What we collect in the field also is a little bit changing somehow, because we have a kind of our plot is 13 meters radius. So we have you can see the red circle is the 13 meters radius, where we collect most of the data, but we added also some new data. So the botanical component is new. So you have the 4 quadrats where we have a botanical assessment. This is also quite complex in the sense that we have a simplified approach for all the plots, and for a subsample of the plots we have a botanical assessment with a botanic expert in the field. Okay, so a Blanc-Blanquet assessment, let's say. Then we have the coordinates of all the trees and the deadwood component, but this is also coming from the previous NFI. Okay, so this is the traditional NFI, but of course I am responsible for the remote sensing component. So another new component of the NFI is that we are going to have maps. So official products are not just estimates, but we are going to produce also maps. So we are, of course, I am coordinating a group that is related to the implementation of the Copernicus mission in Italy. We have a lot of Copernicus data, but we will have even more Copernicus data from the different constellations that are expected in the future. And additionally, we have the acquisition of a new LiDAR data. So for the first time, we finally have a country wall-to-wall LiDAR acquisition. Well, there is a lot of background on the integration between remote sensing and NFIs. In the past 20 years at least, we have a lot of NFIs around the world producing good experiences in the integration of this data set. If I can suggest, I frequently say to my students to start with the fundamental work of some of these researchers, especially Erkki Tompo and Ronald McRoberts are two people that I frequently suggest as reference people for studying a little bit the history of the integration of remote sensing in the NFIs. If I have to suggest some of the papers, if you want to study this, I suggest these three papers to start reading. Okay, I had the PhD on this idea of integrating remote sensing and NFI. There are different ways on how integrate it. I was interested in the production of maps. So during my PhD, I developed my own version, let's say, of KNN. We don't have the time to enter in the details, but I think that probably you are familiar already with KNN procedure. It's very common in many fields, very simple to understand compared to new systems. So at the beginning of the process, we started with KNN, but immediately we were overpassed by the machine learning area, especially the work done by Brayman with random forests. So for the moment, our tests that were based on the data from the previous NFIs, 2005, 2015, are based, most of them are based on random forests. Random forests, we will see a slide later on, it works, of course. The only point that sometimes it works even too much, very well, surprisingly very well. So we have to take care of how to evaluate the performance of these approaches. So there is a lot of literature on this, but just that we have to take care of this. Sometimes overestimation of the accuracy of the maps that we are going to produce. These are some of the papers that we published. Here we presented, for example, in this paper, the first map of the growing stock volume across Italy, based on the 2005 NFI. We integrated many predictors here, both from optical and radar data sets, and even environmental data set like DTM, climatic data, and so on. Let's say one point I think is important is the resolution. I have a very, well, it's not only mine, but I am convinced that we don't have to produce maps with a resolution greater than the size of the area that we use for collecting the data in the field. Okay, so given that we are using a plot of 13 meters radius, I selected the 23 meters here. 23 meters pixel is more or less the same area of a circle of 13 meters radius. If we collect the data in this area, I think it's not, it doesn't make sense to create maps with a higher resolution. Of course, our models can be applied at 1 meter resolution or 10 meter resolution, but we are producing, for the moment, the idea is to produce maps at 23 meter resolution. These are our maps. I've been very much inspired by the job done by EGN. you have a long tradition of representing also under a graphical point of view the products of the maps. So I try to do some tests on also on how to represent. Here you can see the growing stock and the urban area and the plots. Then we move to the idea of how to, if we have two inventories, one in our case, one in 2005 and one in 2015, am I able to produce maps for the other years in between? So we published this paper on creating these maps. Basically, it works. This idea was a little bit overpassed by the new annual inventory. So we don't need this procedure because we are going to collect the data in the field every year. But just in case, that was a kind of successful history. We compared the final results with also with external data. This was quite time-consuming to collect data. In Italy, we have a lot of local inventories collected for specific areas for because some of our some of our administrative units are special. So the islands are special. More or less like Corse in France, but also Alto Adige is a special region, Valle d'Aosta is a special region, and Friuli is a special region. So they have specific projects and specific data in addition to the NFI. So it works. It works. It works. But so. Here we are opening a little bit the discussion between creating very well the idea of the concept of the overfitting. So trying to find a good balance between the generalization of the model and the fitting of the model. If we create very general model, for example, if we put all the data together from different years of the inventories, we can create more general models that are locally less precise, okay, less accurate. So the idea of the overfitting is definitely, that this is not fitted, and this is a kind of optimal condition. So there is a lot of this discussion in the area of the estimations, not specifically maybe in forestry, but there is a lot of discussion. So I was quite happy when I saw this picture in this nice paper that KNN was also there. So my KNN from my PhD was still considered in a good position between the deep learning and the traditional regression approaches, let's say. So this is another problem that we have related to the interpretability of the data. With KNN, if you know the algorithm, you know that you can exactly understand what is going on for each pixel of your prediction. If you run this new artificial intelligence, deep learning methods, it's more complex to understand why in a certain region the model is working and why in some others it's working a little bit less, and so on. So the so-called black box, we frequently refer to the concept of our models are black box. So there is a new area, a relatively new area, is the explainable artificial intelligence, XI. That is very interesting. We try to analyze our data of the NFI for calculating naturalness or growthness, concept using our plot level data. And then we try to develop a model for mapping old growthness for Italian forest. We use several predictors, but the most important are coming from the maps of the NFI. So just to say that the maps of the NFI is not the final step. So the maps of the NFI can be the input for more advanced or more complex approaches. So these are the results we get in mapping old growthness. This is still under publication. It's not yet published. You can see the old growthness value per pixels, and then the map of old growth forests in green. And sometimes you can see that there is a very direct relationship. This is, in my understanding, is overfitting. So it's too much. But you can see that our model is also creating some information also for other areas where we don't have old growth forest, or where the map of the old growth forest is not, in our opinion, taking all the old growth forest. Okay, it was delineated only for a core area maybe of the forest, but most of the forest is instead very close to the old growth condition. Of course, our approach is not for mapping old growthness, but as a basis for a revision of the old growth forest. As you know, this is something that is very up to date in many European countries, because it's part of the European regulation having maps of old growth forest. Okay, sorry, this is a repetition. Okay, how to use? We try to use explainable artificial intelligence concept on this data. So our approach is based on this SHAP, Shapley additive explanation. That is a it was developed in the framework of the LIME, local interpretable model agnostic explanations. Just to simplify a little bit, if we have a 0-1, so yes, no, so for example, old growth versus non-old growth could be. So the blue and the pink, the two areas, are mapped by the artificial intelligence approach, and these are the plots. Okay, so the blue plots are classified in the blue area. The red plots are classified in the red area. So this is artificial intelligence that is following very in a good way, but is probably overfitted. Okay, but if we look at locally, this very complex. So it's I cannot explain this function under a mathematical point of view. Okay, it's too complex. But locally, maybe the function is simple. Maybe it's just a linear. So locally, maybe I can explain it. So this is the basic concept where we found this approach of the SHAP interesting. Also because there is a very good. There are both codes in R and Python. There is a very famous paper on Nature machine learning. The first one using a big data set for studying what is the main cause of the age of death. Okay, so the life duration. Okay, of course, it's the age. The more years you have, the more probability to die. But this was the first kind of provocative paper using the SHAP approach, because the SHAP approach don't tell you, because this you can do also with R, with random forest. But what you can do with SHAP is also to understand in which directions you have the different relationship with predictors. Okay, so those are all the predictors of the age. Okay, so you can see the feature can be high or low. The relationship can be strong or not strong, and can be in one direction or in the other direction. We did the same with the forest area. And so we found this nice relationship with DTM, for example, because our old-growth forests generally are forests that are difficult to reach because they are far away, so they're very high altitude. But for the same reason, we calculated several. We don't still have the LiDAR, so we use this simulated canopy height model. But we have similar relationship in the same direction, even not so strong. So it was a nice experience. I think it's a new area that I think we will explore further. Another area is the small area estimation, because we think that the pixel level maps is not the final product. So I am convinced that the pixel level maps are interesting, a very nice product, but I think we should aggregate the pixel level maps on small area. There are many methods available in literature for doing this. We are still trying to understand which is the best approach for the new inventory. One of the things that we have to decide is the area for aggregating. Of course, we can do it with municipality boundaries for administrative units, but I would like to do something more detailed. So coming from a segmentation of the images. So this is an example. So I would like to create polygons that simulate somehow forest management. Okay, so because I think that 23 meters resolution is a resolution that is useful for supporting forest management. Of course, these are very small area estimations, let's say. So there is an open question on how we can do it. Okay, so it's still an open. We are doing some tests because even creating these small areas is in an automatic way. Of course, it's time consuming. This was done also. We were somehow inspired also by the experience in Sweden. They have done something similar. Okay, this is the idea. This is our map of the 23-meter resolution, and this is a real forest management plan. This is our didactical forest, the Vallombrosa forest. So these are the forest unit coming from the forest management. So as you can see, the 23-meter resolution is a good resolution to give you a first assessment of the. I cannot call it estimation, but a first assessment of the growing stock volume, the basal area, the number of trees per hectare, and so on for practitioners, okay, for forest. So the idea of the forest unit is like to have a national forest management plan. I don't know, something like that, okay. But this is still very open. I change a little bit the scale. This is again the same forest where we bring our students every year, and then where we have a lot of data collected with a lot of sensor. We have tree talkers. We have a lot of data coming there. So I use a little bit the students every year to do the field job. So you can see that in each plot we have the tree level data, also with the crown projection. So the tree coordinates and the projection. So we are moving a little bit to the digital twin idea. So instead of calculating information of forests for more or less big areas, to calculate and to create models for tree level. So our approach is based on the segmentation of LiDAR data. This is a sub area of the forest where is dominated by conifers. So the segmentation of single trees is easier with with LiDAR. So the idea is to create this kind of single trees with, if I can, yeah, okay. This is simulation of the segmentation process of the LiDAR point cloud to create the single trees data. Okay, we have also in terrestrial laser scanner. This is created with the ZEP, the ZEP instruments, so the based on Geolab approach. These data are very good for validating our single trees data. I don't know, at the beginning, this approach was intended for validating our approach. Nowadays, these terrestrial laser scanning are becoming every day more simple to use. So I don't know if in the future will complement and how they will complement the field assessment. I have the sensation that probably they will be part of the NFI. We discussed it a little bit if in a subset of our NFI plot acquiring the data with the terrestrial laser scanner, because I don't know, probably the future is there. But this is just an example of the comparison between the field data from terrestrial laser scanner and the single trees mapped with aerial laser scanner. As you can see, of course, the relationship is good when you look at the top canopy, okay, so the dominant trees. But we will see. This is just some first results, unpublished yet. Once again, these data are just the input for models. So we are working a lot with a part of our laboratory is working with models, ecophysiological models. So we would like to apply this data, these models to our data set. And why not considering the idea of doing the laser scanner with unmanned approaches? There are some research activities. We are not alone, and we are not the first one. Doing research in robotics. We have now this Spot. Spot is from Boston Dynamics. That is can be equipped with several instruments. You can see up there is now is equipped with a LiDAR, Velodyne. So we are testing this for moving in the forest to acquire the terrestrial laser scanner data. Of course, there is a problem in moving in complex areas. We are cooperating with our colleagues in robotics, in engineering, with methods for unmanned. So you just say to the dog that you have to do something, and then it takes care. But it's not so simple. Just a few words on another area that it's not yet part of officially of the NFI, but there is a lot of discussing about this related to forest disturbance, using a longer time series. We can produce this data. There are a lot of global experiences in doing this. Data set of forest disturbances. What we had in Europe, there was quite a lot of discussion on this paper. I don't know if you follow it a little bit. There was a kind of scandal in our area, a small community in 2015. No, 2020. The JRC published this paper with abrupt increase in harvested. We had in Nature. We replied because in our statistic, in our NFI, we don't have this abrupt change. And in fact, there was a change in the algorithm for analyzing the time series. They didn't notice. Well, they didn't know. It was not. The information was not available when the JRC used this data. But then they correct him. So we have to take care of the data we use. In Italy, we cannot use the methods developed in USA, for example, or in Canada, because most of our clear cuts are in coppice forest. So coppice forests have a very short regeneration period. So in 3 years, more or less, you have the same spectral signature as before. If you apply traditional temporal segmentation methods, these 3 years are considered noise in most of the algorithms. So one of my students, Saverio Francini, now is tenure track in University of Bologna, developed during his PhD thesis this method 3i3D that was specifically for our forest management. So we created this paper. We published this paper on this national data set. He works mainly in Google Earth Engine. The main point is that in Italy, we have an official cadastral system for registering these kind of data. So they are a little bit skeptic of using remote sensing for doing this, because, for example, forest fires are perimeters. The perimeters of forest fires are done in the field by the Carabinieri, because there are legal issues related to this. This idea of the time series is even more interesting with these new constellations with many satellites in the same orbit, like planets. So you can have a high resolution imagery every year, every day. Sorry. So this is an example of a planet. This is also done by Saverio. For example, let me see if I can show you. If I can take the pointer, I can. Otherwise, Saverio, look at here, for example. Okay, this is a clear cut, no clear cut, and then a certain time they start cut. So you can see every day what they cut. This is a specific request of Carabinieri, because Carabinieri would like to have a kind of real-time alarm to say, tell us where we have to go in the field to check. They go there to check if the insurance is okay, if the work is done with respecting the rules and so on. This idea of the forest disturbance is very much interesting, especially in a period when we have a lot of big damages like storms. This is the Baia storm, 2018, destroyed a large part of the Alpine, the eastern part of the Alpine region in Italy. It was a dramatic event. And the ministries came to us and say, okay, we want to know the hectares. How many hectares? I have no idea how many hectares. So and the problem was it was winter, so it was cloudy, it's mountains, so it's difficult to have cloud-free images. So somehow, as you know, in Italy, we are good in finding some kind of solutions. But at the end, we also were able to publish our results. but not immediately. So we were able to give figure immediately, but we were able to estimate the accuracy of the figure 1 year after after the spring. So at the end we had 42, more than 42,000 hectares destroyed completely, more than 8.5 millions of cubic meters lost. And this was published by the ministry. So finally, it was a good way for advertising at the ministry. We need some kind of real-time monitoring system. Okay, we have the NFI. We produce every year our maps. We also need an infrastructure ready for these kind of emergencies. Okay, I would like to take the opportunity that I'm here just to show you a couple of slides more.
Perfect.
Okay, very short, just to say, traditionally the NFI doesn't take care of urban forests because they are out of our domain. But we had a lot of requests, and we had this new infrastructure, let's say, that was a new foundation that was created by a law from the Prime Minister, specifically to do research supporting the transition, the green transition of Italian cities. Okay, so and this is why the reason why Italy invested in this area, because more and more people is living in urban areas. Okay, so this is a percentage that is now around 75% in Europe, but is expected to be 80% in 2050. Even if the area covered by our cities is relatively small, but the vast majority of our population is moving. Is living in the cities. Okay, I don't have to explain why vegetation is so important in cities. We know. One of the reason why we started this research is because the statistics that are available. This is coming from the portal of the European Environmental Agency, but the data are coming from the statistics of each country. Are, in my opinion, strongly biased, in the sense that if we look at the tree cover of our cities, this is for Italy, we have some figures that are totally Palermo in Sicily, almost 60% covered by trees, but they are nonsense. These are coming from the Copernicus tree cover dataset that is good in general. The problem is that, sorry, I jump a little bit, I go fast. The problem is the definition of the city, okay? Because most of these statistics are coming from the administrative boundaries, okay? So there is a system at the European Eurostat, okay, defining the administrative units. Okay, so they aggregate all the different types, because each country has different types of administrative units. But let's take the NAT3 level. So in Italy, our municipality level, and then they classify which one of the municipality of these units are cities, okay? But then they take this boundary and they clip the boundary on the tree cover, okay? So, but this is not city. The city is here. So if you're taking the vegetation here, the percentage cover of this city is very strong. So what we tried to do was creating something more homogeneous and a little bit more related to the real situation. So you can see the red here is the degree of urban So it is the degree of soil sealing. Another 10 meters resolution layer available from Copernicus across Europe, everywhere. This is very well done, in my opinion. The gray area is the area that we extracted from our statistical ISTAT, the Institute for Statistics in Italy. So we had a more geographically precise definition of the boundary of the city. Okay, it's not perfect. This is Rome, for example. These are in the same scale. Okay, Rome is a monster. It's very huge. So the gray area is the area of the urban area. So we calculated the statistics for those areas here, not here. Let's say. Okay, so this was the main decision. So the vegetation cover comes from this map that we created, integrating the Copernicus data only, because we didn't have the. I don't want to. My idea was not creating a new map. Okay, so I just integrated the data set available from the Copernicus. 5 layers. We have the urban atlas. In the framework of the Urban Atlas, we have the Urban Atlas map itself. Then we have the street tree layers, the tree cover map. There are several maps that are aggregated. So at the end, I have the tree cover, the bush cover, and the herbaceous cover. These are the 3 types of vegetation. Of course, these are European data, so we did it also in this paper that is in review. For all the capitals of Europe, because these data are available everywhere. Then the first job was we were stimulated by the activity of de la Ville de Paris sur le plan de la biodiversité. They talk about the networking, the connection between green areas. So we use the graph theory, okay, to transform our raster data in a vector maps of the ecological network. So calculating, because this is a traditional landscape ecology concept, the amount of green area can be organized in different spatial way. Okay, is it better to have all the area in one area, or fragmented in many small areas? This is the concept behind. This is, for example, I prepared the map of Paris with some names so that you can. So these are, I don't know if you can see, but there is all the network connecting. And so we can classify the different types of spatial arrangement of the green vegetation for the biodiversity and the connectivity. Then we have, we integrated the data from the NFI maps. So this is the carbon stock of the vegetation. If you have the carbon stock, you can calculate with models the potential removals of pollutants, for example. And then we can also study the relationship between vegetation and temperature. This is the land surface temperature from basically from Landsat. We created these 1 hectare hexagons where we have, this is the Florence and this is the LiDAR data, the LiDAR of the vegetation. Okay, so this is the canopy height model of the vegetation in the city, and the color is related to the temperature. Okay, so the darker, the hotter. As you can see, the cooler hexagons are those with the vegetation. Of course, if you know the physics behind the land surface temperature, I'm saying something that is obvious because the land surface temperature is measuring. But it was interesting to be able to calculate for the 92 cities that we investigated, the relationship between the tree cover, the vegetation cover, and the temperature. In most of the cases, the relationship is simple. Some others are not so well related. Most of them, all of them are on the sea, because of in those areas, the influence of the sea is influencing the temperature more than the vegetation. We are just exploring this data set. This is an imperviousness, so the relationship between temperature and imperviousness, of course, is the opposite. I don't know if we have the time, but very short. The land surface temperature is measuring the temperature of the objects. Okay, so what I would like to understand is the temperature that the people feel on the skin is different. Okay, it's because that is the temperature of the air that is not measured by remote sensing. We cannot measure by remote sensing. So to understand this relationship, we need a lot of data. So we use I have some example here of this. This is a meteo station. You can apply it on a car. We applied it on buses. I have no idea if it works. It works. Yeah, so this is in real time, the temperature in Florence measured by, you cannot see, of course. But if I move it.
No, I think because we shared the particular screen.
Well, it was just, then I will move. Okay, so you can, so you have the data. This was measured at 5.2 today. It was 8.5 degree, 82% humidity, and so on. So with this data, we would like to use, now I have to close it. Okay, we would like to move from land surface temperature to real temperature. We talk about this during the idea. So if you have this data, you can also calculate. I know the architects know this very well. I think most you have seen already this rule 300. You should see from each window at least 3 trees. You should have your area with at least urban area quartier. Yeah. With at least 30% of vegetation, and you should have a public park within 300 meters. Okay, this is the optimal condition. So the idea, of course, is can we map this rule? It's not that easy. There are several papers with different methods on how to calculate that. I go fast because we don't have time. Of course, we can use LiDAR, terrestrial LiDAR in urban areas. I don't know if I have one. No, I don't have one slide. No, okay, it doesn't matter. But it was just to say that most of Florence was without this. No houses in Florence were able to respect these 3 rules. Okay, so in some houses you have the 3 trees, but you don't have the public area, or you have the public area but you don't. So it's not that easy. Of course, to do that you need the trees. Okay, to calculate that rule you need all the houses, but this is relatively simple. You have it. But you need the inventory of each single tree. You can calculate. You can take single trees easily with remote sensing. More if the vegetation is easy. This is again the city Florence. You can see the cycle, the purple cycle. That are the database of the trees of the municipality. So these are the public trees. So they are inventoried. So we know the species, the dimension. Usually they should update the data somehow. The problem is that we don't have information on the private trees. Okay, because they are not inventoried. So we need to find a way to. That is, for example, That big garden there is private, is from an hotel, a big hotel in the city center of Florence. So we need to integrate local data set with this data set, with inventories. We can do it with the single tree detection with optical data or on the segmentation of the LiDAR data. There are a number of techniques. We are testing several approaches. As usual, once again, as we have done with the single tree in the forest, the delineation, mapping the single tree is not the final product, but we can apply models to the single trees to estimate the different ecosystem services. This is, for example, a run of a model for calculating the different ecophysiological information on the single tree data. I think that another relevant area is the relationship with health, physical, mental, and social. So there is a strong, there are several papers relating, I think I have, okay, here, several papers demonstrating the relationship between human health and the vegetation. So it is even more important, the estimation of this. So this is something that we have done in Florence. Okay, so there is a model relating the NDVI and the mortality reduction. Okay, so we can use data from meta-analysis. What we do is using meta-analysis information from a medical article to now I have to move to calculate from these are okay. We can use the different results of published papers to create this model, and then we can apply to NDVI because NDVI is easy. Okay, just one final slide. This is a totally new data that we are still ingesting. These are coming from mobile phones. So, because to understand what is the relationship between people and the vegetation, we have also to understand where is the people. Okay, so this are coming from a data set we have acquired, aggregating the position of people. So the colors here is the number of people, basically, in 1 year of observation, coming from several apps. When you install an app and you say, okay, I want to use the GPS, okay, you are creating this data. We don't know the app where they are coming from. There are 10 different apps, so I don't know which one is related to the. And this is not exactly the people. So these are the pings. They call the pings. So each ping is a coordinate from one app in that moment. But we are, so it's very heavy to elaborate. This is elaborated for a cell of 10-meter resolution. But it's working. This is the main park of Florence. And you can see a very good connection with the trees, with the roads inside. There is a nice connection up here with this is a highway passing over the park, a bridge. This is an area for concerts during the night in summer. This is a typical running path along the way. So it's an interesting data to be combined. I'm coordinating, I'm not doing this research alone, of course. It's not only my job in my laboratory, but I am coordinator of this doctorate in urban future studies that is in the faculty of, in the Department of Architecture. So the team is made of several experts from physics to social sciences, from economics to botanical, and of course land management. And so these are doing most of the job that I show you today. Thank you.
You're mapping the pings to see where the people are going, but if it's a ping from one app, but if I have 10 apps on my phone and they all ping, then I'm 10 people. How do you?
Yes, that is part of the pre-elaboration of this data. This was very heavy. We worked several months discovering these issues. Yes, you can do. We have this problem. So that if a person stay there and he is using the app, is creating several pings. Okay. So, but you can use filters to understand this. So because you have the code, you don't have the name of the person, but you have the email. Email is the code of the phone. Okay. So if I can see if it is the same email, then, but it was also a discussion with the people in the lab because anyhow it's a kind of persistency of people in the green area, you know. So we have to understand how to manage it, but the information is there. I mean, it's just a matter of understanding what is your purpose.
Yeah. Any questions?
And you have to pay, yeah, you have to buy this data.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Justin. And I just have a big question about the cement site in our view in Italian NFI, because from what I understand that the cement design methodology of the new Italian NFI is quite very much similar to the French NFI. And just a bit of differences, like we don't use the we are using kind of a 5-year cycle, but we extend it into 10-year cycle by a slide window, something like this. And we didn't use a permanent mud, but we rather use semi-permanent mud, which we remeasure only once after 5 years. And then in the second phase, so we actually, I understand that you are using a stratified symbol random sampling. We also use stratified sampling, but we rather use some sort of specialist sampling in the starter, the symbol random sampling. And then I understand that you are shifting to annual inventory, producing annual estimation. So, and then my question is, when you produce an estimation, and then how you can produce the 5-year estimations, because for the French NFI, we using a kind of average of 5 consecutive years to produce the 5-year estimation. So my question is whether you also do the same, or you will gather the data to produce only one single estimation after 5 years.
Very good question. I don't have an answer in the sense that this is the first year. So we have several positions. So in the group, there are several ideas on how to do it. None of them is wrong so all of them are potentially okay. So aggregating the 5 years or creating a new estimation. My personal idea, after the 5 years, okay, using a moving window. So every year creating an estimation with a moving window of 5 years. Okay, so so that you can maintain the consistency with the previous. But this is it's not my original idea. It's done also by others, but this is my personal opinion. There are others in the group that have. So at the end we will have some tests before defining. We haven't written somewhere how to do it. Okay, so we want to see the data before.
I have two.
Yeah.
One for each part. In the first part, so when you do these explicative artificial intelligence models, usually when we want to have a model which is explicative, It's either to understand the nature, like we do with the process-based models, we just run them to understand what's really happening that we cannot see, or to check the validity of our models. So what is your motivation? Why would you like to understand what's happening inside the box?
Yeah. There are many reasons because you want to understand. Personally, under a researcher point of view, I'm always interested in understanding why is happening something. So this is my attitude, let's say. Of course, you can use it to explain, but the idea behind the XI is more related to at least the application in our area. Is there are not too many people, but there are just a couple of papers that are more related to understanding ecology. Okay, so using this kind of monitoring data, but to understand the ecological process.
Yeah.
Okay, so the more to understanding the rules, let's say.
And the second one is, so when you show this link between the mortality, the human mortality and the presence of trees, are the trees there? Aren't the trees only a kind of a proxy, some kind of I don't know, the wellness, the income of people? Is it really the presence of trees which make people live longer?
Yeah, you have the you have the. We made this paper. This is the first time I do this kind of research, and I did it with the PI, a principal investigator who is coming from medical statistics, so a statistician working with medical data, because it's complex. It's so difficult to understand why a certain element is more important than another, because people can die because of several reasons, because they don't have money to access to good hospitals, or because they are exposed to other. Okay, so here it's what I can say, but I can give you the paper with all the details. First of all, they have a precisions, so the models with a precision, and what they do is they apply the same approach as giving that you use to understand if a medicine is working or not. Okay, so you are so the exposure to green vegetation is considered like a medicine. It's the same approach. So how to evaluate if you survive because of the medicine, or you survive because you are strong, okay, or because you are DNA. So they have methods for considering the different variables, let's say. So they remove the others and then maintain only one, that is, in this case, is the exposure to the green vegetation. It's the opposite of exposure to pollution, okay? It's the same medical statistical approach, let's say.
In France, you have the raw data of the inventories that is available. You can download it. Is it the same in Italy? Is there some portal where you can download?
Yeah, you can download all from the previous inventories. For the new one, we are changing the rules. We still have a little bit to decide. But for 2005 and 2015, you can download all the. Of course, you can download the estimations, the statistics, but you can download the single trees and the plot level data, the raw data. The only information you don't have is the exact plot location that we distribute under request. Okay, so you have to apply, you have to send a document. Basically, we ask to do not go in the field to alter the plot, and we ask to do not distribute to others, and we ask to use it for non-commercial purposes. So these are the three main. You have to explain why you are asking, and then you receive the data. This is our, but it's I was very much in favor of this kind of open access because I'm coming from the remote sensing area, so I am very sensible to this argument. For the new inventory, I don't know. More or less, the principle will be the same. We don't know if the only question point is the exact plot coordinate. That is the only question point.
You have a coordinate that is not the exact one.
Yeah, online you have you know that is the inventory is a random point in a quadrat of 1 kilometer. So in the online you have the upper left, the corner of the upper left corner of the quadrat. So you don't know exactly.
Yeah, so it's like they're not coming back to the plots if you guess the plot locations because you have permanent plots, right? And I was wondering, in the forests and transitions, we discussed this morning that you have a lot of old agricultural land that is being abandoned, that is turned into forest. Were there some discussions within your group to track this forest in transition and to stay representative with a set of permanent plots?
Yes, of course. They let's say you have to do the first phase, okay, every year. Okay, so every year you have to decide if you have to check if the plot is still forest or if you have new forest plots. Okay, so this year, every year, the photo interpretation is done to understand the second phase plots. Okay, in theory, because in practice we don't have annual photos. So this is another tricky point that we discussed a lot, but we didn't find an optimal solution, in the sense that the optimal solution is that you have all the plot photo interpreted every year on the basis of the year photos, but we don't have for the whole Italy. We have Italy is covered every 3 years in blocks. So north, south, center in a rotation. So one possibility was to link the inventory to the rotation of the acquisition of the orthophotos, but it's not written on a law. It's just the way they. So we have this. At the end, we have this little disalignment of 1-3 years when we have to decide the first phase sample, because if you don't have the exact orthophoto of the same year, this photo interpretation is you will have at the next 5-year cycle. So you will sum up the land use change on the forest area as soon as you have the photos. So you will have this. I don't think there is a solution. There was a solution of proposing using planet scope, 3 meters resolution. But at the end, for the moment, it's in this way. So
pay for it, no?
Yeah, but it's not so expensive, but it's 3 meters resolution. So now the photo interpreters are using 20 centimeter resolution orthophotos to understand exactly, if a new forest, frequently you need a good resolution to understand if it's becoming a forest.
We are discovering in Italy as well the new transmission, which will be very valuable, like 50 centimeters.
I think play it for you probably is for free, but for us we have to pay. It's very expensive.
Yeah, it's better to pay for player than it's cool.
But it's the price is different. Yeah.
There are no questions that are close, actually. So from the beginning of your presentation, even this morning, I understood that the contributions, or at least the assistance to the inventory, based on the one side remote sensing and the other first inventory statistics, are quite separate. So I would have two questions that target the hybridization of these approaches. The first one concerns disturbances, the work you have presented on disturbances. And my question is, beyond evaluating the perimeter and the development of this perimeter of the disturbance, first, are there questions about the parameters you may estimate? And second, do you envision that these estimates on disturbances may be used to update the data of the regular NFI? That's the first question.
Yeah, in one sense, we use the disturbances for the estimation, for mapping growing stock volume, biomass, and so on, because this time series analysis produce a lot of indicators that are the number of years since the last disturbance, the number of years for recovering the 80% of the spectral signature since the last disturbance. So the magnitude of the change in the spectral when you match. So there is a lot of maps, single pixel, that we can create from this time series analysis, and these are predictors that we use. Okay, so to create the random forest maps of biomass, growing stock volume, we also use these time series predictors. Usually they are not so relevant in the models. If you look at the relevance of the predictors, usually they are not so important, but anyhow we include that. So on one side, okay. On the other side, using the disturbance maps should be, in my opinion, extremely interesting and useful. The problem is that for the moment in the Carabinieri, there is another office that is not the NFI in charge of mapping, basically they map fires, okay, because that is the main disturbance. And they have their own protocols. So if we start creating disturbances by satellite, including fires, we have to combine the data sets, okay? And in Italy, we have a law, if an area is burned, then for 10 years, the land use change is blocked, okay? Because we had in the past, before this law, the case where people burn and then they create new houses. Now they cannot, but to do this, they have to create a map that is official for a tribunal, for because the private owner could say no, that was not a fire, so I want to create a new house, I can do it. So there is a lot of, and they want to maintain a kind of to be sure that the perimeter of the fire is done by an officer, not by remote sensing. So this is blocking a little bit the development of this forest disturbance mapping by remote sensing.
The second question is about the model assisted approach you showed us. And the question of Train also about what kind of strategy you're going to use in this new inventory to produce estimates. Is there a view of using model-assisted approaches to produce estimates just on single inventory, a single year, 1 year inventory action of days?
I'm here also because we are. I like to discuss about this because we haven't decided yet. We have in our team Lorenzo Fattorini, the statistician. Pier Maria Corona was also teaching forest inventory. I am there. We have several. We are discussing, but we would like to because. If I can show you, I haven't presented here because it's very statistician, very statistical oriented. The job of Fattorini, who is would like to propose to have the estimates, it's the single pixel estimate. Okay, so they are he present these as design based maps. Okay, because he's very oriented to the design based. I am a little bit more, I am from the remote sensing area, so of course he also used predictors from remote sensing, so I prepared the predictors for Lorenzo, but I haven't, we have to complete this field job, check the data, and then we will run in parallel both the traditional approach of the model assist, of the random forest and model assisted approach that I presented here for the small area, and Lorenzo will run this new approach for the design-based maps, and we will see. Because I've seen some results, and the maps, the numbers are okay, but the maps are strange. We are still in a phase to, because this is the first year. Then once that we
made some tests a few years ago on forest in central France, and we found that at the model level, taking 1 year or 5 years was not changing at all. But when you propagate the map, you have an issue with extrapolation after that. That is quite stronger when you use only 1 year instead of 5. And after that, for sure, you have an issue with the domain size.
Yeah.
Because you have pretty much less points to estimate for.
Alex.
So this aggregation that you were doing, was that supervised or unsupervised? Are you using the NFI?
Unsupervised.
So it's not, so you could just consider that in the intent. Okay. Well, that's that first question. Good. The second question, just to go back, so I'm kind of curious about this military doing field observations. Because the major vulnerability for design-based and model-assisted estimation is measurement error, because you just assume that it doesn't exist, even though people always make errors. And is there any issue with like insurance claims and people trying to manipulate how the fields get evaluated? Because normally you say that the field should be evaluated and nobody knows that it's there. In France, they put a little.
Yeah.
And in this case, it looks like
we have a QA QC procedure that is carried out by CREA. So the personnel, we have 5 teams from CREA that go to remeasure a subset of or a part of a job that is carried out by the field crew. Is this what you are meaning? So that controlling the quality of the field job, or assuring, calculating the quality of is this?
Or if somebody was going to commit arson to intentionally not do it to the.
I understand. Well, they have
some sort of like.
Yeah, we have I understand the point. We have an application we have a tablet with an application, so they have to put the data in the tablet in a way that it's difficult to create, and they are public officer, so they are in trouble if they do something. It's not a private company, it's just a commercial problem.
Do the landowners know that the lot is there, or are
No.
they totally oblivious?
This is under, they have a manual with a procedure. Usually in Italy, this is not an issue, in the sense that it's very different from USA, for example, in the sense that in Italy, you can collect mushrooms wherever you are. You don't have to respect the private limit, mainly because usually you don't know the limits, because you don't have the signs for, but also huntings. The hunters can go wherever they want, even your property, my property. They have the right. So the animals is not property of the landowner, but they are of the nature. Okay, so they can move. So also the hunters can move. Okay, so it's a traditional approach in Italy that usually you can go wherever you want. We don't have weapons. It's difficult to get weapons. So usually, maybe you have to discuss, but usually it's not dangerous. Let's say we don't have this private property issue, especially if you see that they are police. So there are two police people coming in mission. So they are not. They don't have weapons. For example, in the NFI, there was a long discussion because they must always have weapons as a general rule. The police. But we decided to. So they are. This is strange, but they have to be three, because one have to stay in the car with the weapons.
When we were discussing the animals, the game, I was wondering, but it's a bit off topic, but how he's hunting regulated then?
It's regulated. Mainly, it's controlled by Carabinieri, and so you have to have a license.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need a license related to an administrative area. So you must stay in that area, but it's not. But you are free to walk. Like mushrooms, you can go wherever you want. If you don't find a fence. If you find a fence with a sign, then you have to respect it. But if you don't find something, you can go. The mushroom is the same. You have the license. You need to buy. You can collect a certain quantity. Hunting is regulated. You can hunt certain animals in certain period and so on. But when you walk, you don't think if this is my property or not. Nobody goes in its own property. When you go huntings, means that you go in the field.
Myself. It was just a comment myself about the definition of cities when you talk that is kind of difficult.
Yes.
In France, we developed, I think it's 10 to 20 years ago right now, a project that is called the Geopolis. And it was exactly on this, how to harmonize the definition of cities over the world. Because every city every country is having its own definition of what is exactly a city. And so we will develop something that is specific for remote sensing also, based on the urbanization level, and we have a database that is providing the footprint of city all over the world.
I will be curious to look at that, because I found a project of the European Commission, because they know this problem. Everybody knows, but
the project was called Geopolis.
Okay, I will ask.
Places where we had problem is in China.
Yeah,
but in fact, the cities,
the conurbans,
almost impossible to find them.
Yeah. I understand.
But almost all the country.
I'm curious to see. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I stay on cities. First, one question of curiosity.
Yeah.
They mentioned this issue of vegetation distribution. Not only the total fraction matters, but also the distribution of vegetation. And my question is, when inquiring about the patterns between vegetation and temperature, did you find any relationship between the way vegetation is distributed and the surface temperature or not? So were there anomalies or some patterns to be detected?
It's just I cannot for sure there are because it's very complex because in a city there are many sorts of disturbances. Let's say, so they are heating, for example, in the summer. At least in ours, I can see in the city where I live, but it's more or less they are very hot. The higher is the temperature, the reaction is to have more air conditioning. air conditioning means production of more temperature thermal somewhere else. For example, even the roads are very hot because of the asphalt or the concrete, but also because you have all the cars pushing out the hot. So it's not. We started the past year to create this data set, and then we would like to analyze it. The main point is that the temperature that I show here is the land surface temperature. So it's the temperature of the roof of the houses. Okay, in remote sensing, in a urban area, from remote sensing, we have the 30 meters resolution of Landsat. Basically, you have the roof. Especially in a historical city in Italy, but it's the same in France, you have very narrow roads. So from the top of the pixel, you get the roof temperature, but then the people is, I don't know, 20 meters below, in a kind of canyon, in a shadow, maybe with some fresh air. We have this canyon effect. So I would like to analyze the temperature that the people feel, not the temperature of the roof. Even if by remote sensing it's easier to do.
So should we have a sensor on the smartphones?
Yeah, we will see. I have this is a very nice instrument. Okay, good. So very potentially, I think a lot of people around the world is going, because it's very cheap. It's 400 euros only. This is a meteo station. They are the meteo tracker that I show you the data from Florence. So this is a. But it's a meteo station, and this is the same. I can go to the top, and for pollutants. So take 10 different pollutants. This was validated already. We did the job the past year in Rome with a big data set created. So this data set is open because the buses register one point every 100 meters. So 10 buses or 24 hours a day. Because, for example, the heat island effect is mainly night effect. Because during the day you have the solar radiation, so it's hot everywhere. It doesn't matter if it is vegetation or not vegetation. But during the night, no. If you have vegetation and open, so soil, then you have the water is evaporating. But this is something that we feel every day if you. But we still have to elaborate this data. Okay, so thank you, everybody. I'm here, so if you have more questions, thank you.